delivery requirements that may need to be completed. That's just another thing we can also assist with illustrations on Evo, inputting or creating an illustration, and of course, last but not least, forms and marketing materials. So again, if needing any assistance with completing those forms that need to be sent over to new business or transactions, and then marketing materials. So of course, if you want to send any brochures to your clients or any new prospects, you can reach out to any of us, Maria, Sabrina, Nia, or myself, Ioana, and we can send these marketing materials to your office so you can provide that to your clients. Now, the next division we have is living benefits. So this would include the critical illness and disability insurance products. So we have Jack and Avnish, and they would be the contact people for any of the agents that are located in Ontario, excluding Ottawa. For the investment side, including the RESPs, as well the TFSAs and RRSPs, you have James and Michael, and they would be, of course, the contact people for any agents that are on or in the Ontario region. Last but not least, for the Quebec and Maritimes region, you have Stephen. So he is the contact person for the Life and Living Benefits division. And then we have Alfredo on the investment side for any agents that are located in the Quebec and Maritimes region. Now, not only do you have your dedicated sales team, but you also have a dedicated back office that you can lean on, and they will guide and help you in anything, of course, in your journey here at IA. So first and foremost, you have a dedicated landline that is exclusively for the WFG advisors. So it is the 844-934-6942 number. And depending on where your inquiries are, so option 1 will be anything to do with policies that are in the underwriting process or the new business division if you'd like to contact them. Option 2 would be for policies that are already in force. Option 3 would be for the investment side. And then option 4 is for the IT help desk. So if you ever have any glitches on the software, or maybe it's issues with submitting an application to IA, you can reach out to the IT help desk and they'll be able to assist with those errors. Now, with the preliminary team, we have updated that email, which is now the opinion-prelim@ia.ca. Now, with the preliminary team, this is typically an email that you will be using if you have a client, it's maybe they have a specific medical condition, and before submitting that application to IA, you can send your inquiries to the preliminary team and, of course, get more of a concrete answer on how they are going to make that decision in regards to that specific medical condition. So is it going to be an approval, a decline, a postpone, or a rating? Now, when sending this email to the preliminary team, please make sure to include the family history of your client, the age that they were diagnosed, that medical condition, of course, what their date of birth, and any medication that they are taking. Last but not least, you have your main email contacts that you will be using here at IA when doing business here at IA. Now, please keep note, when you are using these email addresses, please make sure to use one email address. If you do CC all of those departments, it can cause a delay in whether settling or approving a policy. So first, for underwriting, of course, this has anything to do with policies that are in the underwriting stage, whether you want to get an update, communicate to an underwriter, or send over any of those forms that may need to be completed. So again, any of those questionnaires or the F1EA signature form. And then for policies that need to be settled, so completing those delivery requirements, any policy changes, and or documents that need to be submitted will be to the wfgtransactions@ia.ca email. For policies that are in force, so if you have any inquiries in regards to that policy, it's going to be the infolife@ia.ca email. The investment side, in regards to product, any questions that you may have will be savings@ia.ca. And then investment transactions will be the IAT transactions@ia.ca. Any products that you want to send through the Assure and Go platform, so critical illness, disability insurance, accident insurance, our Cancer Guard product, and you're sending it through the Assure and Go platform. If you want to get any updates, whether it's for the in-force policies, anything that's pending, you can use the livingbenefits@ia.ca email. Now, in regards to CE credits, of course, every week we do have our daily webinars. And by attending these daily webinars, you can receive CE credits. In total, you can receive 3 CE credits. So 1 for the life insurance daily webinar, 1 for the investment daily webinar, and 1 for the living benefits webinar. So again, 3 CE credits you can receive every week. Now, when it comes to attending and being on these daily webinars, please make sure you are on for more than 45 minutes in order to receive your CE credit. You're going to receive these CE credits the next following week to your email, so you don't have to worry about sending an email to any one of us or sending an email to the CE credit team. Again, you will be receiving an email the next following week from the CE credit team with your CE credits. With immigration guidelines, so we'll be looking at the immigration guidelines here that we offer. With the statuses, we'll be looking at first the work permit statuses, student permits in Canada for 3 years or more, and the conventional refugee statuses. So with that, with the life insurance amount, there is no limit for the life insurance amount, but it does have to make financial sense. And with the critical illness amount, they can get up to 100,000 max for any clients that have a work permit status, student permit in Canada for 3 years or more, and for those conventional refugee statuses. Now, when looking at the visitors or clients who have no status, for the life insurance amount, they can get up to 100,000 max, but it is provided that they have no intention of living outside of North America for more than 9 weeks over the next 2 years. Now, they can get more protection than what those limits are using and getting our Access Life product, and they can get up to 500,000 of the life insurance amount, and this can be done through the Assure and Go platform. With the critical illness amount, it is, or I should say, they can get the Cancer Guard product up to 150,000 of that amount. But again, they need to be in Canada for at least 12 months, and this is available through the Assure and Go platform. Last but not least, for the student permits in Canada for less than 3 years, we have increased the amount to 250,000 for the life insurance amount. This can be done on the Evo software. Again, if they want to get more of life insurance, they can get the Access Life product up to 500,000 of that amount, and they can do this on the Assure and Go platform. With the critical illness, they can get Cancer Guard up to, again, 150,000, provided that the client is in Canada for at least 12 months, and they can do this on the Assure and Go platform. Now, when it comes to clients, when they get life insurance and they are ages 50 and under, and they apply for the face amount of 2 million below, it can be non-medical. And with that being non-medical, it can be auto-approved. So on the Evo software, we do use predictive analytics. And with that, it can go two different ways. So as mentioned, it can be non-medical, and then it will be auto-approved, and then the policy will be issued and will be enforced. But again, using our predictive analytics, if a client discloses any medical condition in the application, or they disclose any family history, or any MIB flag that gets pulled in, at that time, medicals are required to be completed by your client. Now, this does not mean whatsoever that the policy cannot be approved. It just means that the underwriter does reserve the rights to investigate and get a clarification on what your client has disclosed in the application. But once again, as I said, it can still be approved and then will be issued. Now, another question that we get often is reinsurance. Now, there are times where you can see this facultative reinsurance that is outstanding during the time a policy is in the underwriting process. Now, when you do see this outstanding requirement, there is no action required from you, the advisor. Now, what is reinsurance? Reinsurance is basically insurance to cover for the other insurance companies that we look at. So IA's mission is basically to shop to these other reinsurers to be able to give you the best possible rate for you to help these families. So we do look at overall 7 companies to give you that best rate, which are Optimum Re, Swiss Re, RGA, Industrial Alliance, Partner Re, Munich Re, and Hanover Re. And with that, typically it does take up to 5 to 7 business days for it to be completed. And as mentioned, there is no action required from you, the advisor. Now, for the corporately owned policies, we do have new requirements with that. So when submitting a corporately owned policy, please make sure to submit these 3 forms and to be completed at time of application. Once that is done, you can send that to the WFG newbusiness@ia.ca email. Now, if you want to stay informed and get all the latest news from IA, you can receive the latest news each week in the newsletter. Now, with that, you can find the IA Connected, which is on the Advisor Center. You can find that on the first slide here or on the right-hand side where you will see a blue box that says stay informed. You can input your email there and just click on the subscribe button. And once again, you will get all the latest news in a newsletter to your email every week from IA. Another thing that you can find on the Advisor Center is Web Showcase. Web Showcase is a great way to promote more on social media and gain even new prospects. With Web Showcase, again, you can find it on the 3rd slide or on the right-hand side where you see the Web Showcase visit. Now, this is where we have 2 different platforms. We have Facebook and LinkedIn. With that, we provide tips as well on how to post effectively on these social media platforms, how to create an ad, and as well how to create that professional page. So then any new prospects can like and follow that professional page of yours. On top of that, the best part is we provide content that you can use and post on Facebook and LinkedIn. So here is just an example with our Access Life product, and we have the 3 target clienteles. We have for the hard to insure, for families, and for newcomers to Canada. Really simple to use. You just need to click on the hyperlink of copy the content. You can also copy the image, and then you're just going to paste it onto Facebook and or LinkedIn. Now, we do have all three divisions in regards to that content. So we have, of course, life insurance, the investment side, and living benefits. So we have a lot of options when it comes to providing and using that content. Now, this has been approved by WFG, so you can use this web showcase, and it is accessible for the WFG advisors on the Advisor Center 24/7. When going on that web showcase image, please make sure to click on the brokerage website, and this is where you're going to find all of that information that I have just mentioned. Now on the Evo software, we do have a new feature, which is the Make an E-Change feature. This is where you can make a policy change for those policies that are in force, and you can do these policy changes electronically. Now, when you click on the Make an E-Change button, you're just gonna need to log in, type in the policy number, and then just fill out that change request. So what type of policy change would your client like to make? Then the last part is the signature process, and then you will be able to submit that request and it will be submitted to IA. You can then monitor that request on Business Tracker. These are all the options that you can find on the Make an E-Change feature. So as you can see, there are so many options of what you can do electronically, whether it's changing the beneficiary for a life insurance plan, for a critical illness plan. You can even change the beneficiary for the funds of a universal life plan. You can change the banking information electronically. You can even change the target premium on the Evo software electronically. So those are just some of the ones that I wanted to mention that can be done on the Make an E-Change feature electronically on the Evo software. Now, the only thing that is not available on the Make an E-Change feature would be conversions. So if your client has, let's say, a term plan, and they want to convert that into a permanent plan, you would need to complete the conversion form and then just send that over to the transactions team. So that's the only thing that is not available electronically on the Evo software. Now with Evo, of course, this is our interface suite, and we wanted to make it a lot easier for the advisors to navigate through the software and when it comes to doing the application. With the application, we created and used those simplified medical questions, and as well, again, to make it easier for you and your client to understand it and complete the application in no more than 10 minutes. With that, we have that faster application process and turnaround time. And because of that faster application and turnaround time, we have that instantaneous acceptance for life insurance for amounts up to $2 million. Now, when it comes to that instantaneous acceptance, 60% of the applications that are being sent in are instantaneous acceptance. So when there is that acceptance, you will get a text confirmation that it has been accepted, and then it will be issued after. On the Evo software, you'll also see all of the life insurance products. So of course, Universal Life, Term Life Insurance, IA PAR, and our guaranteed and simplified issue, which is the Access Life product. You can also find on the Evo software the critical illness product and any disability riders, and our newest feature, which is policy changes that can be done electronically. With the electronic signature, this is also available, of course. You can do it either in person or remotely for all sales. Now, when it comes to doing it electronically and remotely for all sales, please make sure that the client does provide their email address and cell phone number in order to complete that electronic signature process. Now, there are a few things that are not available for the electronic signature, which will be any time that your client is paying by check, any replacement of contracts, and for those corporately owned policies. So for any of those three options, please complete the F1EA signature form and just email that to the WFG newbusiness@ia.ca email. So we are going to head on over to the demo part of today's session. So I'm just going to switch my screen and just give me one moment. So you should be seeing now the Evo software on your screen. A few things to go over on here. With new features, this is where you're going to find all the latest stuff on the Evo software. So whether it's a recent change on a product, any new features on a product, or again, all the latest news on a certain product. With my files, here you're going to find, of course, all your files, whether it's you just started creating an illustration or starting off on an application, and it's always going to ask if you'd like to save the file. So again, it really is intuitive in that sense. And once you have saved the file, it's going to save all that information and be right where you left it off. So in any case, if you don't finish completing the application with your client, you can always come back under My Files under the In Progress tab, and you'll be able to find it on there. Your completed tab is going to be, of course, these applications that have been already submitted to IA. The Make an e-change feature, again, any policy changes is over here on the right-hand side. You just need to click on that button and, of course, sign in, and you'll be able to make that policy change electronically. Creating an illustration. We have all of our life insurance products here, as well critical illness product. So whether it's term life insurance, universal life, the IA Par Estate, and IA Par Wealth, our Access Life product, which is our guaranteed issue, and again, critical illness. So we are going to illustrate today a quick universal life illustration, and we're going to do YRT as our cost of insurance. And now we're going to put the client's information, of course. So we're going to click on client 1, and we're going to put their last name, their first name, their date of birth, the gender, and if they are a smoker or a non-smoker, and we're going to click on apply. So now John Smith is the insured and the applicant. We're going to have here the death benefit, where we have the face amount plus fund, and the wealth maximizer option. Now, John, he has a growing need of insurance. So he would like to have the face amount plus fund, because with the growing need of insurance, he's going to have the life insurance portion plus the savings portion as his death benefit. We're going to keep here the face amount to be 300,000, and we're also going to add a few riders here for John. So he also has a temporary need to cover for his mortgage and any, again, debts that he needs to pay off. So we're going to add a term 20, and we're also going to add a critical illness rider for term 20 as well. And now here, with the projection period. Now, I would suggest when putting the projection period to do it as the same duration as the term. So as you can see here, it's a term 20, we'll do the projection period for 20 years. And then for the critical illness, it's a term 20, projection period, again, for 20 years. So this is just for, again, illustration purposes. And with the term rider, we're going to keep it at 500,000. And with the critical illness term 20 rider, we're going to keep it at 50,000 of the life insurance amount. Now, also really important to mention, now we are doing a universal life product illustration. Now, really important to have the investor profile completed. Now, why is that the reason that we should have this completed? So when going to the e-application and you are submitting that application to IA, before submitting that application, there is a question that does ask, does the investments that you have chosen correspond to the investor profile? Now, if this is not completed before submitting the e-application, when it comes to doing the signature process, it won't even give you the electronic option to do it electronically. It'll only allow you to do the paper signature process, which is completing the F1 EA signature form. So again, if you want to do, of course, the signature process electronically and remotely from your client, really important to complete the investor profile with them. Now, there are about 7 or 8 questions, I would say, that the client does need to answer. And once they have completed these questions and answer the questions, it's going to determine what type of risk profile are they. So are they a high risk profile? Are they moderate? Or are they a low risk profile? Once it's been completed, it's going to give you the result. So in this case, John has a moderate risk profile. Once this is done, you're then able to go onto the investment tab and you can click and choose your investment accounts. We have over 30 investment accounts that you can choose from. If you want to learn more about them, you can click on this hyperlink and it will open a new page for you where you will be able to see and find all of the information and details in regards to that investment account and how they perform on the market. With your results tab, this is where you'll be able to find all those details in regards to the product. So because we did a universal life plan with the riders, you will see here the annual premiums paid, the accumulation fund, which is the cash value of the plan, and the death benefit. So because we did a face amount plus fund, which is again, because John has a growing need of insurance, he has here an increasing death benefit. Last but not least, in order to get that illustration report, so you be able to provide your client with the illustration that you have created for them, go under reports, click on generate report, and it will give you a PDF copy of that illustration with all those details. So those are just the main features that you will be using when creating and using the illustration part when doing the UL plan illustration. So now that we have all of those things completed, we're going to head on over to the e-application part for today's session. So of course, you're going to log in. So we'll be able to do the e-application. And as I said, anytime that you log in and then start doing the e-application, it will ask if you'd like to save that file. So we're going to say yes. Now, first thing that you're going to see on here is the advisor details. So here you're going to add your advisor information, your agent code, last name. Everything else is optional. You do not need to provide that. Your commission, how to distribute it. If there are 2 agents that are in that plan, of course, this is where you're going to split the commission. and how to distribute it. Now, for the employee or advisor request, another important thing to keep note of. Now, in the future, if you do intend to sell a life insurance plan to a family member of yours, you can do so, and of course, you will still get paid as long as you are not the owner, you are not the insured, and you are not the beneficiary. So let's say, as an example, this plan is for your spouse. Maybe it's for your child or your parents, and you are not the owner. You are not the insured, and you are not the beneficiary. This is where you're going to select client. Now, if you are the owner, let's say, maybe you're the beneficiary or you are the insured, you are going to make one of these selections, which means that the policy will be considered a personal policy. Now, this does not mean that you will not get paid. This just means that you will not get paid upfront. So your compensation would be spread out for the next 12 months. Now on to the identification. So we have the client's last name, first name. The SIN number is only optional. You do not need to provide that. What is their main occupation? We'll put teacher, their employer, the address. So of course, the client's home address. Contact information. So again, when doing the electronic signature process, important to have your client provide their cell phone number and email. So you'll be able to complete that electronic signature process, and they will be able to get that email to sign the application. How did we verify the client's identity? We'll say remotely, and we'll put in today's date. Identity confirmation. So we see here that there are two different ID confirmation that we need to provide. So because we are doing a universal life plan, and as well because of the Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorist Act, we need to be able to verify your client twice. So the first one has to be a photo ID. Now, it can be any kind of form of photo ID, but it does need to be government issued. So we can do driver's license, and of course, provide all the information. So the document number, where is the place of issue, and the expiry date of the driver's license. Now, the second piece of ID is really just to verify your client's address. So it doesn't have to be a photo ID. It can be anything like a utility bill, a bank account statement, an investment statement, really anything that the client receives that verifies their address. So we can put investment statement, provide the document number, and the issuing organization. And now we can go next. Insurance history. Does the client have any pending insurance? Have they ever been declined? Or if they have anything in force. Now, if you do, or I should say if the client does say yes, they do need to provide the following information with that. And now we should be on the declaration part. So with tobacco usage, when was the last time you used tobacco in any form? Now, Let's say if the client says that they are a non-smoker. This is where you want to make sure that they didn't have any nicotine in the last 12 months. If they have, let's say, quit smoking recently, but are still using the gum and patches, that still has nicotine and they will still be considered a smoker. So just be aware of that. Were they born in Canada? We'll say yes. Occupation, once again, they're a teacher. Annual income, we'll say 60,000. Highest level of education, we'll put bachelor's degree. And what is the insurance need? We'll say it's personal. And in the last 12 months, have you submitted a declaration of insurability to IA? We're going to say no. So then we can go through those questions in the declaration part. Family history. Does a member of your family, father, mother, brother, sister, suffer or has ever suffered from one of the following conditions before the age of 65? We'll say no. In the last 5 years, have you consulted a specialist? So you can always click on this blue question mark, and it's going to give you a list of doctors that are considered a specialist. So you can always refer that as a reference guide. In the last 2 years, were you prescribed or did you refill a prescription that you will need to take for more than 30 consecutive days? We'll say no. In the last 5 years, have you consulted or been treated for any mental illness? We'll say no. Do you suffer from or have you ever been diagnosed with a disorder or disease of the nervous system or a neurological condition? We'll say no. In the past 5 years, have you consulted or been treated for muscle and bone disorder? We'll say no. Do you suffer from or have you ever been diagnosed with any of the following diseases or disorders? We'll say no. Are you currently under medical investigation? Are you awaiting results, disabled, or do you have any signs or symptoms for which you have not yet consulted a doctor or were advised to undergo a diagnostic test that has not yet been performed? We'll say no. In the last 3 years, have you undergone any diagnostic test, including ultrasound, breasting, ECG, CT scan, MRI, biopsy, etc.? We'll say no. And now we're going to input the client's height and weight. And in the past year, have you lost more than 10 pounds? We're going to say no. In the next 2 years, do you plan to travel or reside outside of Canada or the US? In the last 4 weeks, have you traveled outside of Canada or have you transited through an airport? Are you experiencing symptoms of fever, cough, or difficulty breathing? In the last 4 weeks, have you or someone close to you been in contact with a confirmed or suspected case of COVID? And in the last 12 months, have you been hospitalized for COVID? With sports and aviation in the past year, have you practiced aviation, scuba diving, parachuting, hang gliding, paragliding, mountaineering, etc.? We'll say no. Within the last 5 years, has your driver's license been suspended or revoked? Within the last 3 years, have you had 4 or more driving violations? In the last 10 years, have you been incarcerated, charged, or convicted for any criminal offense? With habits, on average, do you consume more than 12 alcoholic beverages per week? On average, in the past 12 months, have you used marijuana, cannabis, or hashish more than once per week? Within the last 10 years, have you used any drug other than marijuana, cannabis, or hashish? And the last question on the declaration, have you ever been treated for drug or alcohol use, been a member of a support group, or have ever been advised to reduce your consumption or to receive treatment for it? We'll say no. And now we're on to the beneficiary section. So with the beneficiaries, we're going to simply add an individual. And here we're going to put 2 different beneficiaries. We're going to say that John wants to make his parents the beneficiary. So we're going to input first the mom, inputting all the information that it requires. So the date of birth, the relationship, of course, it's the mother. And we're going to put in here 50% revocable and clicking on save. Then we're going to add an individual, add another beneficiary, and here we're going to input the dad's information. So Bob Smith, the date of birth, the relationship, so he's the father, 50%, and then clicking on revocable. So that's for the life insurance portion. Now it's for the critical illness rider. So John, he is going to be the beneficiary. So he is the insured, and he's going to get 100% of the face amount paid out to him. And then for the accumulation fund, again, the parents, so Mary and Bob will get the portion of the accumulation fund 50-50. So with the mom, and then Bob, who's the father, 50%, and then revocable. So we have all 3 beneficiaries here for the life insurance portion, critical illness, and the accumulation fund. Now, these are the questions that are specifically for the applicant. So we are going to say no to the next following questions. And where does the money used by the person paying the premiums for this insurance come from? We'll say employment income salary. And will a lump sum payment of 100,000 or more be made on this policy? We're going to say no and go on next. Perfect. And now we're on to the billing section. So when it comes to the client paying the first premium payment, I would highly recommend that they do choose to pay by PAC, as by paying by check, you would have to mail that out, and that may cause a delay. This can also reverse your commission if the check does not get there in time. Now, another reason why PAC is very important for the client is it's going to activate the temporary insurance agreement. Now, what does that mean? So this means that your client is going to be basically covered for the next 90 days while the underwriting is going under process. The client just needs to authorize to IA to withdraw the initial premium within 3 days of the application being received by IA. So this withdrawal will come out of your client's bank account within 3 business days following the submission of the application. Now, the very next day, we will send you your 40% commission to WFG, which then in turn will mean that your 40% points will show up in your next pay cycle. So with The withdrawal arrangement, we're going to say that we have not already paid by PAC. We're going to say it's a personal banking information. And for the banking information, you don't need to worry about providing a void check. You just need to find out who your client banks with. So in this case, we'll say that John banks with Bank of Montreal. It will put the institution number, and then all you need to do is put the branch number and the account number for your client. For the day of withdrawal, I would recommend choosing effective date of the contract, just to avoid those too close withdrawals in your client's bank account. This just gives you a summary of what your client has chosen. So we did a universal life with the YRT cost of insurance, added a term 20 rider, a term 20 critical illness rider, and then the investment accounts. So as we can see, for the medical requirements, there are no medical requirements to be ordered at this stage of the process. Now, if there are any medical requirements to be ordered, it will give you the option, two options that you have actually. You, the advisor, can order the medicals for your clients, or you have the other option where IA can order the medicals for you. We can even have the options of linking applications, so you can add an additional application. So with that, please make sure that it was submitted in the last 12 months to add that additional application. And you can also link applications. So for family members or business partners that want to be issued at the same time, you can also link applications. So now the final part, which is the electronic signature. So now we're on to the signature process. So for the signature mode, we're going to choose electronic. Province's signature is going to be Ontario. And as I mentioned previously in regards to the investor profile, so you will see that question here that comes up. Does the choice of investments correspond to the investor profile? We're going to say yes. And now the client will sign away from the advisor. We have the email address, the method of identification. We can choose either from code via text message or a security question. We'll do code via text message. We have the cell number here, and we're going to start the signature process. So now the clients will be logging onto their email. And on their email, they are going to, of course, start the signature process. It will, of course, ask for that verification code. And this is the code that the client is going to receive through text message. They will then enter that code, and then they will be able to sign the application. Once the client has signed it, the software will allow you to complete the process along with the email that they will receive for these signatures. The client is also going to receive a leave at home package, which includes the summary of the illustration, a summary of what they have applied for, and as well as I mentioned, the temporary insurance agreement. So you don't have to worry about physically going and handing that over to the client, the temporary insurance agreement. It's all within that email that they have received. Now, the next part, of course, is how to transfer the application. So all you're going to do is go onto signature and follow up. You're going to click on refresh. It will accept these signatures, and then you're going to head on over to transmission, where you will transfer the e-application to IA. So now it comes to getting onto how to track your business on the Advisor Center. So we're now going to do the last part, and you should be seeing the Advisor Center on your screen. So with my clients, this is where you're going to find all of the updates in regards to those policies in the underwriting process. You're going to input the policy number on here, and then you're going to put My Contracts in Underwriting and click on the search button. From there, you will be seeing the contract number, and you're going to click on that contract number to view those details. From there, you will see this screen. So you're going to see that deposit, which is the first premium deposit, where you'll also get those 40% points released to you. And of course, your client is going to be covered for those 90 days as the temporary insurance agreement. You will see the requirements here. As you can see, the list of requirements, most of them have been received and completed, but there is just one outstanding requirement. Now, anytime you see an outstanding requirement, whether it's outstanding or there's a reply button, please make sure to complete it. Otherwise, it cannot be approved. Once all requirements have been completed, it does take 3 to 4 business days before the underwriter does make a decision. So it could be there is another requirement, or it could be an approval. It is a case-by-case basis. You'll also find here the medical requirements. So if there are any medical requirements to be done by your client, you'll be able to find all the updates there. So when they have been scheduled and when they have been completed. Now, the next part is Business Tracker. So Business Tracker is where you're going to find any of the delivery requirements in order to settle the policy. So if you go on to where it says here online course, you're going to be able to get all the details and a summary of how to use the tool of Business Tracker, and the most important thing, how to create your notification preferences. So on here, you will see how to input that, which you can find it on the right-hand side by clicking on Advisor. And here you're going to input those notification preferences. How do you want to be notified? On top of that, for which one would you want to be notified? For which type of event? Do you want to be notified for the event for which I must act, or the event that is suggested? Definitely recommend to do the event for which I must act. That one is the most important. These are the ones that need to be completed, because if they are not completed, that policy cannot be settled. So please make sure it is for the red triangle one that you see, or it could be a red square. Then you can choose if you'd like to be notified by email or by text. And once you have saved it, now anytime that the policy has been approved and there is, or I should say there are delivery requirements that need to be completed, you will be alerted, and then you'll be able to complete those on Business Tracker. Now, on the Business Tracker, of course, this is where you're going to find the electronic contract delivery. We have 2 different types of electronic contract delivery. We have without amendment and with an amendment. So we're going to start first without an amendment. So you're going to input the policy number. You're going to see that red square. You're going to click on Request Follow-up. From here, you're going to see one delivery requirement, which is just to confirm if your client has accepted the contract. You're going to click on the reply button, and you're going to choose one of these options. Yes or no, the client does not accept. You're going to select it, and then you're going to click on Send. That is without an amendment. Now we're going to look at with an amendment. You're going to input the policy number. You're going to see the red square. You're going to click on Request Follow-up. And you're going to see here 3 different types of requirements. So first, we're going to look at the amendment, where you can download the document on here. And with the amendment, what this means, the reason why there is an amendment that the client has to sign is there has been a policy change. So let's say initially the client, like John, that we put on the illustration, he applied for a universal life plan, and he also added a critical illness rider on top of it. Now, with the underwriter's decision, John got standard for the universal life plan, but he has gotten rated on the critical illness rider due to family history. So now, because there is a rating on the critical illness rider, this means that John does need to pay an extra premium on top of the critical illness rider. So because of that, there is a policy change, and now the client does need to sign the amendment. Once that is signed, you can upload the document on here. Then it's again to confirm that the contract has been accepted, where you're going to hit reply and choose one of those two selections. And then last but not least is the illustration. So of course, because of that critical illness rider that is now rated, you do need to update the illustration and add the rating on the illustration. You're going to get the client's signature, and then you're going to upload the document on here. All of these documents are accessible for you on Business Tracker anytime that you may need to look at them. Now, when it comes to signing the amendment, you can sign it electronically, and we do accept these following 6 e-signature tools that you can use. Now, when it comes to using these e-signature tools, please make sure it is the paid version, as we do not accept the free version. Now, this is just for compliance reasons and as well to keep the client's information safe. Now, there is another option where you just can get the client's wet signature, have them scan it back to you, and then you can upload the document on Business Tracker. So there are 2 options when completing and doing the amendment. Now, if you decide again to sign it electronically, please make sure to include the evidence summary page. This is very, very important to include if you do decide to sign it electronically. If you do not include it, it will cause a delay in settling that policy. So this will include all of the information, the timestamp, the signature, the record tracking, and the certificate of completion. Once you have all those documents, you're just going to attach them and then click on send. And then you will see those green check marks and as well the date that it has been sent on automatically. This information will then be submitted to the transactions team and will be updated, and the transactions team will then process that and it will be completed, and then the policy will be settled and enforced. Last but not least, the client experience. So of course, once that policy is enforced, your clients can register on My Client Space, where they'll be able to have access to the following documents. So the electronic contract, the invoice, and the confirmation of transaction. So that is all for today's session. I hope this was helpful. Again, CE credits will be sent out the next following week to your email. So again, you don't need to worry about sending us an email. As long as you have been on for more than 45 minutes, you will receive your CE credits. Thanks again so much, everyone. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to any one of us, and wishing everyone a wonderful weekend. Thank you.